Welcome everybody. Welcome to I guess the last webinar for the 2022 Leadville season. I'm Jay Friedman. For those of you who may not know, I'm one of the Boundless coaches. Also, Kathy Pidcock and Ryan, our fearless leader, are on tonight. And Kathy and I are going to talk about kind of pacing and crewing a little bit in the general sense, and then a little bit specifically for the Leadville 100 in terms of, kind of specific approaches to different types or different parts of the course and that sort of thing. So, hopefully this will be useful for some of the runners, but, if there are potential crew members or pacers on right now, hopefully this will be really good, especially if you haven't done it before. Maybe we can give you some hints. And, feel free to disseminate the recording to your crew if they couldn't make it on this call to start. So I think what we'll do is Kathy, I think, is going to start us off and talk about crewing. And then I will talk about pacing, and then we'll leave some time at the end for questions. And maybe Ryan can moderate questions. So the best way to do questions, I guess, would probably be to just throw them in the chat, and then maybe Ryan can jump in and moderate some of that, or we can kind of pick them out at the end and go from there. So just questions in the chat, and hopefully we'll, my last webinar went almost 2 hours, so we'll definitely not do that this time.
I have a special drink waiting for me, so no. Very good. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our, like Jay said, probably our last webinar on crewing and pacing. I'm Kathy Pidcock. I'm one of the coaches with the Boundless team, and I have tons of experience coaching over 20 years, racing before that, and total running about 43 years. And the reason I know that is because I started running right after my son was born, because I had to get rid of that body. So I have learned a ton over the years, watching people, knowing what I wanted, learned how to manage that. And I'm going to give you some of my ideas, some of the things that I've learned over the years. I think basic crewing and pacing, the number one thing is for the crew and the pacers to take care of themselves. If you are struggling at all, you're not going to be of much help to the runner. So you want to plan things. You want to plan how you're going to be crewing, and the best way to plan is with your runner, because there's a lot of specifics. A lot of runners do things very differently. So I recommend having at least one meeting ahead of time, maybe after this little suggestion time, and then finding out what the runner expects from you and what you can expect from them. I'll tell you what you can expect is the acronym CREW: cranky runner, endless waiting. And that just puts it all into perspective. So how can you help to keep the runner going and relatively happy? The number one thing, again, is take care of yourself so you're not worried when they get there. And I don't think my husband's around to hear this, but the first year I ran the race, he fell asleep. He was my only crew, and he fell asleep in the truck. And when I finally found him at May Queen, I go, gosh, I'm so tired. And he goes, I know, I haven't slept all night. I'm like, okay, dude, that doesn't get it. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I'll go over a couple of ways to do that, or a couple of suggestions I have. But you want to plan for your clothing, and you need to plan for all kinds of weather. 60, 70 degrees can be burning hot for the runner, but comfortable for you. Whereas when it drops down to 50 or 60 degrees up in the mountains, it will be very pleasant for the runner, even 40 degrees, and it will be cold for you because you're not moving around, you're sitting. So plan on your clothing accordingly. And you want to plan your rest breaks. I like to have 2 people crewing if that's not possible. I'm not crazy about leapfrogging pacing and crew, but if that's what it comes down to be, then you just need meticulous planning for that. But you want to plan your rest breaks. The best way to do that is to get a pace chart from your runner. So and I always recommend that you have an A, B, and a D plan for the runner should have that. So you'll have a ballpark when to be there so that you don't miss them. And there's a lot of things that can get in the way and cause you to miss some traffic jams, stuck car, anything like that. So you want to plan down, be quite meticulous on that. Because it's endless waiting, please plan on entertainment for yourself. Books, you know, if your children are there and you have to run them around, you'll want to work that into the plan also. Let's see, I think Ryan's crews always plan for how much beer they would need. So you might even think about that. But if you are unprepared for the long day or night, you're going to be less helpful to the runner. I would recommend that the crew and pacers, and definitely the runner, look over the runner's guide on the website when you get it, and it's got a great list of things that you might need to think about and bring. It's a pretty good list, but it'll help to get you guys organized for that. So on crewing, there's a lot of commotion going on, not only at the aid station, but especially when your runner comes in. And family and friends and pacers and crew, everybody is really eager to help, and they kind of bombard the runner. That causes a lot of confusion. I always recommend that the runner think prior, right before they're coming in, that they think about what they could want, what they need to change, what will help them. And then if they have their crew chief, they go right to the crew chief. Nobody else talks until the crew chief has that information. And then they say, go get some soup, go get the roller, go get his clothes, whatever. They direct. And please don't anybody take offense at that. It's quicker, it's much more organized, and it really will save a lot of time. And it'll keep the runner focused, a little more focused on what they need so they don't forget something. Again, be sure to read that runner's guide over. It'll help you with not only suggestions on what you'll need, but general rules for crewing and pacing. And we never know when the Forest Service or the race series is going to throw in a little snafu. I mean, we had that during COVID, and I think most of them are lifted. But if you have to have a card in the window, you have to have a card in the window, things like that, okay? Because you don't want the runner to get DQ'd because of something you did. For the most part, the runner is better continuing to move. So I consider that the primary job for the crew. You want to get them out of the aid station as quickly as possible. Once they stop, particularly if it's bad weather or at night, their body temperature is up a little bit more because they're moving, but once they stop, it plummets. And if they start shivering, it can take them a long time to recover from that. Again, that's wasted time. So we want to keep them moving as quickly as possible. You may consider, like in the later stages, like at Twin Lakes or Outward Bound, you may consider having a chair there, but also have something to cover them because you don't want that body temperature to drop too low. Let's see, something to consider, and I don't even remember where I got this from, but if a runner spends 5 minutes at every aid station, that can add up to an hour. If they're chasing for that buckle, if they're chasing cutoffs or trying to get that sub 25 buckle, that can make a difference. That being said, the runner should never sacrifice their care for time. Okay, you don't want them to waste time. Don't let them sit there and moan and groan and whine and stuff and say, okay, I got it now, let's fix this and get the heck out of here. So the simpler aid stations that they're going to run through, and again, this is a meeting that you should have with your runner, like possibly May Queen. I don't know, they're going to dump their stuff if you're going to meet them there, and then they should be on their way, because if they can't handle 13 miles on their own, they really have an issue running 100. So again, that meeting I think is pretty important. And we'll talk about logistics for driving to the aid stations in just a minute. One of the key things too is I think we should always be ready as a crew and pacer to adjust, prepare to adjust, because in 100 miles, anything can go wrong and probably will. So one of the things for crewing, a lot of runners prefer to have like a big bag that says Twin Lakes Daytime or Outbound or whatever you want to call it. and the crew just brings that. Well, now all of a sudden they've got cramping and they need their roller. Well, where is it? It's back at the car. And believe me, at Twin Lakes, they cannot go back to the car and get it. What I suggest and what I found to be very effective are bins, like 1x2 plastic bins. One is marked for clothing, one is marked for particular food that the runner wants. And then the other one is just stuff like the roller or arnica or, chafing cream, whatever, Band-Aids, anything like that. And those collapsible wagons are really great for hauling, especially at Twin Lakes, where you probably, depending on how many aid stations you go to before, you're probably going to end up walking or getting on the shuttle. So you might consider that. Let's see. So in the tub labeled food, I recommend that the crew lay out as much as you can, if not everything. Just lay it out, whether they wanted it in the daytime or at nighttime, doesn't matter. Oftentimes the runner comes in, they go, "Oh, that looks good. I forgot I had that in there." And then they take it. We want them to eat. We want to encourage that. Pick anything you want. If you want me to go get something from the aid station, I'll do it. But laying out food, I think, is most important. And they can call out what clothing they want.
No.
Also, I recommend too, in the bin for clothing, that you put them in plastic bags and label them. So like long sleeve shirt, labeled, socks, labeled. All you have to do is flip through it and you can pull it out and get it to them really quickly. Jacket, whatever. You don't have to throw things all around and take the chance of losing something. And then grab anything they want. The crew can help the pacer, but I do recommend that the pacer have their own, especially if they're going to do more than one section. I do recommend that they have their own bin or bag or drop bag or whatever, and the crew just brings it out, drops it, let the pacer take care of themselves. The crew's primary focus is on the runner. We don't want too many distractions. Let's see. So oftentimes, what it's good to do again is to keep the runner moving. So they can often call out, look, to the pacer, especially if they're doing the next section with them, grab me some soup, grab me a Coke or something like that. And then the runner can keep going. The pacer can get that and catch up to them. The runner should never wait for the pacer. That's primary rule. And I'm sure Jay will cover that. And you do want to lay out as much as possible or have everything ready, because we never know, again, if the weather changes, they get chilled, they're too hot. I'm getting blisters if they have an extra pair of shoes. And that's a bad thing about not using a crew. If they're going to use a drop bag and their extra shoes are in the Twin Lakes drop bag, and now by the time they get to Outward Bound, the shoes are pinching their toe or causing a blister, they don't have that shoes. It's back there at Twin Lakes. So the crew, if they have everything with them and bring it to each aid station, it gives the runner the options to correct a situation. Let's see. And again, I can't state how important it is. The runner should never wait for the pacer. You want to prep as a crew, you want to prep as much as you can. So again, having that meeting ahead of time, ask your runner, how do you want us to take care of you? That type of thing will clear up a lot of questions. The runner should have that A, B, and D pace chart, so you'll know when to be there. Let's see. And then also with that pacing chart, that gives the crew an opportunity to plan your rest breaks, your naps or your eating breaks, or some people like to go back into town during the daytime and grab something, whatever, go back to their house. At nighttime, I do want you to know that Leadville closes down. So don't count on going back in and getting something to eat before you meet them at the next aid station. It's probably not going to work. You should also, with your runner, plan on which aid stations you're going to meet them at. May Queen on the outbound is pretty difficult. You can only go on the north side. You may have to park a long way and walk in. And again, it's only 13 miles. So I would consider not going to that one. But if you want to, that's okay. That's up to you guys to decide. Outward Bound is a huge parking lot, very easy to get to. This whole race is actually crew friendly. So there's not a lot of driving. You can get there in plenty of time. Like I say, if you leave your runner leaves you and you guesstimate it's going to take them 4 to 5 hours to get to the next aid station. If it's big like Outward Bound, you don't have to be there right away. There's plenty of parking and stuff. So that's when you could go back and shower, whatever you want to do. Pipeline is another one. Outward Bound is huge, and it's got a huge aid station and a huge place to park, like I said, and they hate direct traffic. Pipeline is approximately, correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but about 3 miles from Outward Bound. It's another big open area. You don't have the crowding that you have at Outward Bound. So you might want to do that one, but you don't have that beautiful aid station. So again, this is something you need to talk about. It's very easy to get to. It's on the map. You can find it.
Yeah, Pipeline, I would say it's probably even a little less. It's probably about 2 miles up the road
Okay.
from Outward Bound.
And then I think it's another 3 miles to Half Pipe. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you can see
half pipe is a little bit trickier to get to, though. That's a hike in. I generally recommend people don't get in there. Yeah,
they're not allowing crew or
they're not allowing crew now.
At that
Good.
one. Yeah.
Good.
So
so I would say it's going to be Pipeline or Outward Bound, one or the other. You certainly don't need to be both.
Right, unless, and what I was going to say too is on the inbound at night, if your runner is really struggling, maybe you do want to go to Pipeline and Outward Bound, and you're definitely on the inbound going to want to go to May Queen. Again, it's going to be crowded. It's harder to get to, but I think at that time of night, it's pretty important that you be there for them to adjust their clothing, their foods, whatever. And
that's the last time. That's the last aid that they'll get is May Queen inbound. They have to go 12 miles at the end without anything. So it is right. And I agree with Kathy. I tell all my athletes and their crew, do not go to May Queen outbound. If you can't, if you're not ready to go for the first 23 miles without seeing your crew, then you're not going to make it the whole way. So Outward Bound, the first time should be the first time that the crew should plan on being there, but absolutely plan on going to May Queen on the way in.
And I know that people leave with headlamps and jackets when they leave May Queen. If you make it a funky shirt or a funky jacket and a just, a headlamp that you don't really care about, that's a good place to have a drop bag so that your crew doesn't have to go there. You can just throw your stuff in the drop bag and move on. Okay, so that's a little plan too there. Let's see. So, and I do recommend that you drive the course. Please do not do it the weekend before, the Saturday before the race, because that's when the bike race is on and you do not want to be anywhere near that. Okay, not to be, exploring. So, but I do recommend that you drive the course prior to the race. You want to have everything organized the day before. Don't leave anything to chance. So gas up, check the air in your tires. I've seen flat tires out there. Make sure you have all of your clothing changes for yourself. The runner, that's the ultimate important thing, but throw into the car all the changes, all kinds of luxury that you're going to want, have that ready to go. I do recommend that after the runner leaves, you reorganize those bins if that's what you're going to use. Just so by the time you get to the next aid station, it'll give you a little bit of extra time, maybe for a nap or something like that, and you don't have to look around in the dark. And I do recommend the crew, don't forget, you guys need headlamps also, okay? So let's see, and then just basically, what are you going to tell the runner, when they want to quit? Well, I'm sorry, all the doors are locked unless you're going to the hospital. That's all there is to it. You're not quitting, okay? And that is the main job of the crew, is keep them going. Don't ever look at them and, I know our hearts are breaking for them because it is a sufferfest for them, but don't say, yeah, you look terrible, we should quit. Okay, that's a no, that's a fire. Okay, you're out of there. It's everything you can do to get them out and get them moving again and let the pacer take over for that. You do want to remind them that, you might be hurting now, and that's only going to last for a couple of hours, but it hurts a heck of a lot longer and more if you don't finish. And I know there are some people on here who have not finished before, and I'm sure they can attest to that. And I think that's it for me. Let's see, if you have any questions, I think we'll probably leave them till the end. There are 7 chats. Okay.
Yeah, the chat is mostly just Ryan talking trash.
Six beer hours, yeah.
Yeah, so I would just add to what Kathy was there to just expound on what Kathy was just saying about kind of the approach to the crew's approach to the runner. And Ryan said no crybabies. I would dispute that a little bit. It's okay to let your runner vent, and they will vent. That's okay. And part of your job as crew is to kind of allow them space to do that and allow them to unload, and let them sit with that for a little while. But the flip side of that is you can't let them wallow, and you can't let them kind of luxuriate in. Yeah, a little bit of crying is okay, exactly. But then it really is it is a tough love situation. And yeah, you can remind them why they're doing it, or just give them a give them a mantra, or just be like, get your ass up and get moving. But you can leak a lot of time, and there are going to be there's going to be a point in this race for every single person, from the winner to the person who is the last one across the line. Every single person is going to have thoughts of quitting at some point. So you just got to anticipate that and know that, and approach it rationally. Don't let the runner and don't let yourself be ruled by emotion in those minutes. And that's why it's often helpful to have somebody really objective, and not a spouse or somebody like that being a crew member or a parent, unless you have the relationship with your spouse where you can really call them on their bullshit. And if that's the case, great, because that's a lot of time. That's what it's gonna take. Kath, logistically, just in terms of driving, just to give people a general sense, I think from Leadville to Outward Bound, which is the first point where you're going to where we would recommend you see your runners, that's probably a 20-ish minute drive. It can't be much more than that.
From the start line. Now, remember, there's going to be a traffic jam, and
sure.
Please, don't worry that you won't find it. All you have to do is follow the traffic. Okay.
Right. It's basically both of these aid stations, both the 2 main aid stations that we're going to want you guys to go to, which is Outward Bound / Pipeline and Twin Lakes. They're very, very easy. They're like 1 or 2 turns. There just aren't a lot of roads, and there will be plenty of cars to follow. And they're both pretty close. And then getting from Outward Bound to Twin Lakes is also, again, 20 minutes maybe.
I would say a little bit more, and especially plan on the traffic jam.
That's what I was going to say. You're going to have to park a little bit outside of town and either walk or bus in. But
right.
But it's going to be fairly short compared to the amount of time that your runner's out on the course. You shouldn't be racing to catch your run or anything like that. You're going to have hours to get there.
Right.
And then just to go with what Kathy was saying about taking care of yourself, making sure you're getting food and stuff like that. When you see them in Twin Lakes outbound, Twin Lakes going to Winfield the first time, going over Hope Pass, once you send them on their way over Hope Pass, you're not going to see them again for, at a bare minimum, 6 hours, and probably closer, depending on your runner's pace, probably closer to 7 or 8 hours. I would say the majority of people going in like a 28-hour to 29-hour finish range are probably going to take about 8 hours to go over the pass both ways. So that's a lot of time for you guys to take care of yourselves. And at that point, feel free to leave town. Twin Lakes, there's 1 store, and there's not a lot in it. So
well, they've gotten really good. There are I think last year there were 3 those.
They did have some food trucks there.
The food trucks, yeah. And believe me, it's super expensive and tastes like crap. But if you have to, then that's a way to do it. And they do not have gluten-free beer in that store. I know it. Okay, so don't expect it. Yeah. Good.
But if you're looking at an 8-hour turnaround time and you want to go back to your rental or your hotel room and grab a couple hours sleep, that is a perfect opportunity to do so. Boundless Ryan should have the Boundless tent set up all day there, and we'll be helping crew with everyone coming through. And you can always leave stuff there, I'm sure. Ryan can tell me if that's not the case, but we're happy to serve as everybody's home base for the Twin Lakes stop at the very least. Okay, so yeah, questions about crewing and that sort of stuff, throw in the chat. I'm going to talk briefly about pacing for 10 minutes or so, and then we'll take questions to finish. So pacing is actually a lot more straightforward now that the race has eliminated the pacer. Pacing and crewing, I think, is a lot more straightforward now that there's no more crew or pacer access into Winfield, which I think was yeah. It was
awful.
It's awful. It was great for a runner to have a pacer coming out of Winfield, but it added a lot of stress and logistical difficulty to the day for everybody. And while this puts a little bit more of the onus on the runner themselves to get over the backside of Hope Pass and back into Twin Lakes without a pacer, it makes the race actually function a lot smoother, and it makes the day for the crew and the pacers a lot easier, and the logistics of it are much better. So just to talk specifically about pacing for Leadville, and then I'll just talk a little bit in generalities. So you can pick up a pacer at mile 62 at Twin Lakes inbound. You can only have one pacer on the course at a time, but you can have as many pacers as you like. They can switch off in aid stations with crew access. So every pacer, I believe, has to register with the race. It basically just involves signing a waiver, either at the pre-race briefing or at the aid station. They usually have the waivers and the pacer bibs right there in the aid station at Twin Lakes and Outward Bound. Just go into the main part of the aid station and ask for a pacer waiver. You just sign it, and you need to know your runner's number, and they'll give you a differently colored bib with their number. Yes, Kath?
I think they put them in their packet pickup last year.
Okay, good.
It has a big P on it and the runner's number.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, you can switch off if you have one pacer wants to take you from Twin Lakes to Outward Bound, and another one from Outward Bound to May Queen, another one from May Queen to the finish. That's great. You can have any combination, or one person go the whole way. That's fine too. The job of the pacer. So much like as we talked about with the crew's job is really tough love and kind of allow the person, the runner, a little bit of space, but not self-pity. The pacer's job has to be a little bit more touchy-feely, I feel like, just because you really sometimes are going to need to coax them and just keep them moving forward. But the main thing to remember, some of the main things to remember, as Kathy said, the runner should never be waiting for the pacer. And the pacer's main job should be, one, looking out for the runner's safety, and then two, making sure the runner is moving forward. We don't want people sitting down and wasting time in the aid stations, and we certainly, barring emergencies, don't want them wasting time in the middle of the trail, because there's nothing you're going to do there unless you absolutely need like a 5-minute dirt nap. There's nothing that you're going to do that's going to be beneficial in between aid stations. So make sure that your main goal, other than looking after your runner safety and keeping them on course, is just keeping them moving forward. And sometimes that involves some cajoling and some bargaining and all that sort of stuff. So it really is kind of a good cop situation a lot of the time when you're pacing. Some people will ask, should I run in front of the runner or next to the runner or behind the runner? And that's really a personal preference for your runner. It really should be something that whatever's most comfortable for them. And that's not something they may know about beforehand. You can ask your runner beforehand, but that may just vary based on how they're feeling. So be flexible as to where they want you and how far in front or how far behind you should be. I generally like my pacer to be a little bit behind me, but if I'm feeling poorly, sometimes I move them up in front and just kind of try and hang on to them a little bit. But that is going to involve a little bit of modulation of effort from the pacer, so you really need to be aware of where your runner is and how they're feeling and that sort of thing. So that there's no hard and fast rule to that needs to be kind of, as Kathy was saying, we need to be adjustable and adaptable for that sort of thing. One of your main goals is making sure that your runner stays hydrated and fueled, whether or not that is on a schedule or just as you kind of remember it. But I kind of, when I'm pacing or talking to pacers, I recommend putting your runner on a schedule, especially as it gets later in the race and their stomach is starting to turn and they don't want to eat or drink anything. You should have some sort of schedule. Every 15 minutes, they're taking 3 sips of this. Every half hour, they're taking a gel. Every hour, they're taking this, whatever it is. But work it out so that, you know, if it comes down to setting an alarm on your watch to beep every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever, to remind you and to remind your runner that they need to eat, because they're not going to want to do it. And that's going to be your main thing is keeping them hydrated and fueled. And that's what's going to keep them moving forward, especially as it gets later in the day. So that's a major responsibility. Talk to your runner beforehand about what they're going to want to eat and what their plan is about nutrition, knowing that those plans will probably go out the window at about mile 85, and it's going to be a matter of get into them whatever you can get into them and whatever looks good at the moment. As Kathy was saying, to runners coming into the aid station should start thinking about what they need, what they want, what's going badly, what needs to be adjusted. When you're pacing somebody, start the process of thinking about that within the mile or so, or the 10 or 15 minutes coming into the aid station. Start prompting your runner. What do we need to pick up? What hurts right now that we need to take care of? Try and stay away from what hurts, because the answer is going to be everything. But is there a hot spot or a blister that we need to worry about? Do you have any chafing that we need? Do we need lube? What do you need to get out of your pack? What do you need to put into your pack? Make sure, it's a good reminder at that point. Let's drink the last of what's in our bottles now before we get into the aid station to refill them, etc. That sort of thing. Be the reminder for your runner. And then you can also, talk to you can relay that, you can help the runner relay that information to your crew chief when you get in. This is what he or she needs. That's helpful. Muling. Leadville is one of the few ultras that will allow your pacers to mule for you. What that means is your pacer can act as a mule. They can carry whatever you don't want to carry as a runner. It's pretty unusual in the trail and ultra world. Most pacers, most races won't allow pacers to carry anything for their runner. Leadville is different that way. It's one of the only concessions Leadville makes to the difficulty of the course. Take advantage of that. So as a pacer, you may want to save some extra room in your pack for extra stuff for the runners, and make sure that you're bringing extra stuff that your runner may need. So what does that mean? Your runner needs a headlamp, but you may also want to carry an extra headlamp, a spare headlamp for the runner, or at the very least spare batteries for your headlamp and their headlamp. You may want to carry, they may want you to carry an extra long sleeve or something warm or a beanie or something like that. It should all be lightweight, but a little bit of extra gear in case the weather turns or something like that, you can keep for your runner in your pack. Again, as Kathy said, you have to make sure you're taking care of you. Just like if you're crewing, you have to make sure that your needs are being taken care of as well. So make sure that you're carrying whatever food and fuel you need, whatever gear you might need, that sort of thing. But know that you can always take on some extra stuff for your runner, especially helpful in aid stations, again, where you guys can come in, your runner can kind of do a quick stop if they need, or even just tell you what they want, and they can keep moving, and you as the pacer can just grab whatever they need and then go and catch up with them. That's a little dicey at other races because that's technically muling. Here, that's legal. Similarly, poles. The question of whether or not people are going to be using poles over those last 38 miles, I'm not 100% sure. I generally like poles definitely on Hope Pass, but that's not going to be an issue for pacers, obviously. However, your runner may want to carry poles for the climb up Mount Elbert out of Twin Lakes and for the climb on Powerline before you get into May Queen. That's fine. Normally, I would not recommend that, but if they have a pacer who can mule those poles for them in between those two big climbs and carry the poles for the runner the rest of the way, then that's fine. What that means is, for pacers, you probably shouldn't be bringing your own poles if your runner is bringing poles, because you're going to really want to carry. I mean, if you add those two climbs up, that's, I don't know, 4 to 5 miles maybe. over a 25-mile stretch. So as a pacer, you're going to need to be carrying those poles the majority of that stretch. So you don't want your own poles, and you really don't need them. I don't think for those sections. It's a nice benefit that you can carry them for your runner, but you shouldn't need your own for that stretch there. And I think that's kind of all that I have to say as set remarks. Muling, fueling, hydration, babying them forward. Yeah, in terms of pacing and everything else, you're going to want to have a plan and talking it over with the crew, obviously, and knowing when you expect the runner in. But remember that all these plans are going out the window the later it gets, and just being adaptable is the main thing.
I do have a little comment too. I have found there's cell reception in Twin Lakes, and until you get closer to town, and even May Queen is notoriously bad. And so I do recommend walkie-talkies for my runners and for their crew. They're just more dependable. You just get a cheap kind out of Costco or something like that. They don't have to be super good, but they will travel better as far as for communication. Everybody wants to know, where is my runner? And even tracking in Twin Lakes is impossible. Even to go onto the site, you'll be really lucky if you can get onto it. So again, I like the walkie-talkies. I think that's definitely a way to communicate.
In terms of pacing, the lack of having a pacer over Hope Pass has taken a lot of the kind of the thinking out of the pacer's job. I kind of feel like those 12 miles from Winfield into Twin Lakes, from 50 to 62, they're kind of fraught, obviously, and you can make some mistakes in there with your pacing. If a pacer comes in and is a little too fired up, you can kind of run your runner into trouble, or if you get charged up about chasing the cutoffs or whatever, you don't have to worry about that now. It's on the runner now to get him or herself back to Twin Lakes inside the cutoff. And if they do, they will finish. I can almost guarantee it. As a pacer now, starting at Twin Lakes or wherever, your only real job is to keep them moving forward and safe, obviously, like I said. But if you can keep them moving and not kill time in the aid stations, if they're ahead of the cutoffs at Twin, they'll make it. So the reason I said that is I was just thinking, like, I wanted to make a comment on how do I pace my runner, or how do I get them ahead of the cutoffs. If they're ahead of the cutoffs when they get you, the only thing I can tell you is just keep moving forward and you'll get there. You really do not need to move fast from Twin Lakes to the finish to stay ahead of that cutoff. The last hard cutoff is Twin Lakes inbound. If you get there, don't worry about your pacing. Just keep moving, keep fueling, and keep hydrating. If you make sure they're getting their 400 calories an hour and their 16 to 32 ounces of fluid an hour, and you're not spending 20 minutes in each aid station, and you're just moving your 3 miles an hour, that's all you need to do. You'll make it. Just keep them moving, keep them focused, keep them as positive as you can, and the pace will take care of itself.
Cool. Good words.
Questions?
For all Mattis.
I don't see anything in the chat, but unmute yourself if you guys want.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is all this on tape? That I'm a crewman, but my runner is not here. Is this on tape that he can see this?
Yeah, Ryan's recording this right now, and my guess is we'll post it to the Boundless website probably in the next couple of days. Ryan, is that right? Yes, he says.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
The parking for Twin Lakes. So the earlier you get there, the closer you can be to the course. The runner comes in down a hill. There's a big blow up facade thing. And then the aid station is the fire station. It's a big like Quonset hut type thing. And then from there, they go on the road, take a hard right, and it's all marked and stuff. And so there's quite a bit of, I would say probably a 1/4 mile space where you can, on both sides of the road, where you can set up your tent and claim your spot. And then from there, it's kind of scattered. As far as parking goes, you cannot go up that road at all. It'll be closed where the runners come down, and you cannot get into the parking lot that's across the street unless you walk in. And that's where our tent will be before they enter the single track on the outbound.
Right. So parking for your car is actually it's going to be before you get into the actual quote unquote town itself.
Correct.
I don't remember the number of the route that road is, but the one road that leads you into Twin Lakes, basically, as you start getting close to Twin Lakes, you will see cars just parked on the side of the road, and that's your cue to pull off to the side of the road and park there. Make sure that you're completely off the road, or I don't remember if it's off the road, or at least there in some spaces, I think it's just a big shoulder with a white line, and all four of your wheels have to be in the shoulder, on the far side of the white line. If they are, you should be fine. If they're not, they will at least ticket you and maybe tow you. They don't take kindly to that. But generally, yes, you just park right on the side of the road there where you see everybody else parking. There may or may not be somebody there directing people. But it's pretty low tech there.
Yeah.
There is a shuttle that runs in from, kind of some undefined place, I think, on the road, and just runs back and forth into town. Probably, I don't know, Kathy, every 10 to 15 minutes or so. It
depends. Every year it's different. It just depends on how many buses they get and how to do that. Yeah, there'll be signs that say shuttles, if there are, and you can just stand there and wait. It's 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Something I would recommend, please do not park in any of the driveways that are along there, because they will tow your car. That's guaranteed. Okay. Yeah. So you want to leave space and not get in there.
And I'm trying to remember, Kathy, can you, I know they discourage people, and I would discourage people from trying to drive through town, because at that point you're driving through the crowd and across the course, but there is, obviously more parking on the far side of town. But I don't know if they allow you to park over on the far side of town on race day. Do you remember?
Yeah, they do, but there's no shuttles. It goes for a long way. So if you do get through town cautiously, and you do park on that side of the road, there's no shuttles to bring you in. You'll have to walk. Okay.
You do not have to. You don't have to take the shuttle. If you can park and just start walking into the town of Twin Lakes and set your stuff up. The shuttle's just if you happen to be far away, or you don't want to walk, or if you have a ton of gear that you're having trouble carrying. But like Kathy said, if you have like a collapsible wagon and can just drag it with you, you can walk right into Twin Lakes. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Yeah.
And I do like to have a tent of some sort, and I know that's bulky and a lot of work and stuff. You may be stuck out in the sun at Twin Lakes. And the bugs, please bring bug spray no matter where you go. It's the mosquitoes can be pretty nasty. But if you have a tent, then you're set if the rain comes through, also to give you some shade. But just a small one. Don't be going whole hog on that and getting those big ones, because you got to haul it around. And you probably won't. You might need it at outward bound on the outbound, but you won't need it coming in unless it's raining. And again, be prepared. I mean, anything can happen.
Bring warm hat, bring gloves, bring a warm jacket. It's going to get cold at some point. If it doesn't get cold in Twin Lakes, it's going to get cold later. And as Ryan said, if you're at May Queen on the inbound at mile 88, it's going to be cold as balls. So be prepared for that.
That's the coldest place on the whole route on the inbound is May Queen. And it's because it's down by the lake, and it just traps that cold in there. So really be prepared for that.
Yeah. And it's also 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. So
right. Sometimes they have a bonfire there. It just depends on the fire situation, which is kind of nice. You can huddle around it. You cannot go into the aid station tent. So be prepared to be outside for that.
Somebody asked for the walkie-talkies, should the pacer carry one of those? I don't think so, no, because the range isn't going to be useful. I think Kathy was just saying for running around in Twin Lakes itself, which is kind of a zoo. Is that what you meant?
Well, actually, you get about a mile. I've had several of my runners use them, just the cheap ones, and you get a mile, maybe even more. And I do like the pacer to carry it so the runner doesn't have to worry about it. when the runner leaves Twin Lakes on the outbound, it would be, if you're going to use walkie-talkies, it would be a wise idea to throw it in their pack and just let them know they have it there. And they can communicate, I've just come off the hill, I'm entering the meadow, and then the crew can get everything ready and stuff. But walkie-talkies have been the most successful over, oh gosh, since it's gotten really crowded, I would say 5-6 years. So, and you kind of have to search out your channel or whatever, kind of coordinate it, but nothing super elaborate. And if the pacer has,
And do you have a particular store or brand or online that we should get the walkie-talkie?
no, just something, like go to Walmart or Costco, like I said, and just get, I think they come in a pack of 5 or something like that. And they do need batteries. So, I mean, it's not like a spot or anything elaborate like that. So there's really no charge to use the service, but no, just something kind of funky, and test them out, play games with them before you go. And if they don't work for you, then take them back, then you're not stuck with anything like that. If the pacer is carrying the walkie-talkie, don't forget to hand it off. Happens.
Any other questions, or I don't see any others in the chat?
I don't either.
All right.
Okay.
Cool. Well, hopefully this was helpful. Please, Ryan will send out the link when this gets posted. And if you have crew members or pacers or team members that were not able to attend, let's make sure that they can watch it. And I'm sure you can email us, or feel free to email Kathy or I with any questions. Or I don't want to speak for Kathy. Feel free to email me. Kathy will be drinking. But yeah, and we'll see you guys all out there. It's getting pretty close. I'm getting excited.
I am too. I'm as nervous as you guys are, believe me. It's like, I love it. I love it every year. I love all the, it's like one of my instructors one time in school said, I love the first day of school. It's so exciting. And I feel that way about race day too.
Yeah, this is the best day of the year. And for you guys who are crewing and pacing, it is so much fun. Twin Lakes is, I forgot how much fun Twin Lakes was until last year when I was back for the first time in a couple of years. And it's just it's a super fun, it's a big party, and especially with the Boundless crew there, it's going to be a lot of fun. So enjoy it. Take care of yourselves, get your sleep, get your food, but have a good time, because it is a fun race, and it's a special place. When you finish 24 hours or 30 hours in and around Leadville, and spending time with the race and meeting the people who are associated with it, it does stick with you for a long time, and it kind of gets in your blood. So I look forward to you guys all having that experience.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you guys too. Feel free to stop by and say hi at the Boundless 10. You won't miss us. Okay.
You'll miss me. I'll be out on the course, but yeah, yell when I go by, hopefully. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining.